Hey everyone, and welcome to our Q&A presented by Just Love. My name is Paula Jane, and I'm talking to Judy Carroll. Judy is an internationally known author. Her books include The Zeta Message, Human by Day, Zeta by Night, and her most recent book, Extraterrestrial Presence on Earth. Welcome, Judy.
Hi, Paula. Hi, everyone.
Judy, in our last couple of episodes, you've touched briefly on a few universal laws, so I thought we might dive a little bit deeper in this episode and investigate them. So first up, how many are there? There seems to be varying numbers, so how many do you like to use?
Right, there are actually quite a few, Paula. There are the ones referred to as the 11 universal laws and the 11 spiritual laws, or the 1111, I think they call them, which I'll list in a moment. But the ones I've referred to mainly deal with reflection, attraction and manifestation, and are vital to understand and be aware of in order to create the best possible reality for ourselves. As quantum physics is proving, we do create our own reality and we can control it more easily through the application of these universal laws, which are the first law of unity and oneness, the second law of reflection, the third law of attraction, the fourth law of manifestation, and the fifth law of eternal existence. These laws work closely together in oneness and are all linked.
Okay, so let's start with the first one, the law of unity and oneness. So what is this one all about?
The first law of unity and oneness states that all is one and one is all, and we're meant to take this quite literally. In the great reality, there is no separation. There's only oneness, and that oneness is universal energy vibrating at multidimensional frequencies. The only separation in the greater reality is the rate of vibrational frequency, because everything in the universe is comprised of energy vibrating across endless dimensions. There are no limits.
Yeah, that's really good. So in other words, all of these laws are linked in oneness as well. So let's look at the second law, the law of reflection. So how does this link into the law of unity and oneness?
Okay, because of the law of unity and oneness, we have the law of reflection. This law dictates the amount of light you allow in or tap into through your intentions and the actions you choose through your free will. What this means is when you look at somebody or something, what you're able to perceive is controlled by your own actions, intentions, beliefs, ideas, etc. So the stronger and brighter your own inner light, the stronger and brighter you're able to perceive the inner light of others, because we are all one. To explain this a bit further, we need to look at the next law, the law of attraction. This is a law that dictates how like attracts like, as within, so without. In other words, what you are is what you attract. What we perceive outside of ourselves as our reality is actually a mirror image of what is going on inside ourselves. This mirror image that we perceive as other is really only a version of reality that we ourselves have created through our own personal inner perceptions. In other words, it all starts with self, and again, the fact that we are all one.
And I suppose that the third law, the law of attraction, then sets the fourth law, the law of manifestation, in motion.
It sure does. Our personal perception of any given situation is the key here, because the way we judge, perceive and accept is what we create. In other words, our beliefs, perceptions and judgments work hand in hand with manifestation, because it's our beliefs that shape our perceptions. The way we think controls our subconscious mind, but we're generally not consciously aware of this because it is subconscious. Our reactions then are the filters that create and manifest our experiences. Now, to put this more simply, if we train our mind to think in a positive way, that is the reality we'll create for ourselves. If we habitually think negatively, then negative manifestation will be the result. By understanding this, we can learn to control our reality and also our ability to manifest or create that reality. The more we work on ourselves spiritually, the lighter and brighter we become, and the easier it becomes to work through this inner process. Your mind needs to be trained to think positive rather than negative thoughts. We need to put work into healing our thoughts through our conscious awareness. This in turn enables us to create a stronger relationship with our subconscious mind.
That's good. So, what about the fifth law, the law of eternal existence?
The laws of attraction and manifestation dictate that what you are is what you attract. The fifth law of eternal existence then comes into play. What is now is always, but it's always going to be changing and evolving. A, because everything is energy, and energy always changes, and B, manifestation is not solid. It is fluid and will always be changing. Manifestation is change. I really love this concept and try to remind myself of it when I find myself in a difficult situation that seemingly can't be changed. I remind myself that everything changes and evolves eventually. Our human lives on earth are only tiny droplets in the ocean of eternity. Everything will pass.
Yeah, everything changes and evolves eventually. Yes, that's true, and really puts things in perspective. So, what these 5 universal laws are about is creating our own reality through the way we think and showing us the best possible way to do this. When we take the time to stop and think about this deeply, we find that we need to go right back to basics and ask ourselves the question, why do I think in the way I do? What we find is that our way of thinking is based on several things: our family values, our cultural values, our education, our upbringing, and our belief system. So, in other words, it's all these varied components that basically influence us and thus create our reality.
Yes, Paula, for sure. To illustrate this, I'd like to quote a passage from hypnotherapist and author Dolores Cannon's book, The Custodians, where she quotes from a session conducted on a fellow hypnotherapist through whom a grey ET was communicating. Dolores was questioning this being about how they're able to so clearly know the intentions of humans by observing them. And this I can attest to from conscious experiences I've had in my own grey form. To quote the being, yes, this is part of what we see. I think human beings might tend to think of it in terms that we see to the true motivations. We see to what they would call soul. We see the essence as well as all the extra overlay, all the conditioning to the essence. Human beings are most amazing to us because they have so many conditionings and teachings and theories and beliefs that are applied as one goes through life, applied on top of the pure essence that is born as a human being. And by the time the person even reaches reasonable adulthood, that pure essence might be totally, completely covered over with teachings and beliefs and indoctrinations, so that it's hard for the person to even have any sense that he is really a pure soul essence. And all he can know is all these layers of teaching and belief and doctrine and so forth that have been applied over that essence as it has come into a lifetime.
Yeah, for sure. And it's all these teachings, theories, conditionings, beliefs, and indoctrinations that create each person's reality. And of course, these are inbred over generations and even through reincarnation, because through the third universal law, like attracts like, we may even tend to incarnate into a family that generates a certain energy.
Yes, definitely. And in some cases, a family is chosen because in past lives we've fallen into the trap of, for example, racism or religious intolerance, and our spiritual quest, chosen from a higher soul level, is to break clear of that pattern to enable us to evolve. In some cases, we'll opt to be born into such a family to hopefully help us to see more clearly where we don't want to go, and so we make an extra effort to break the pattern. In other cases, we fail and just get pulled straight back in. Sometimes we do have to make a real effort to make the change when we've chosen to be born into such a family or group situation. It's easier to just go along with it, but that is not the path to spiritual growth and evolution. Even becoming consciously aware of the need to change may be difficult because of the fact that we've been so programmed to think and act in a negative way right from birth. Racism and religious intolerance tend to pass down through family lines, and this way of thinking is born out of a deep-seated fear and lack of empathy or sense of oneness with anyone who is perceived to be different or foreign. Once we evolve spiritually to a point where we begin to recall our own varied past lives, following different cultural heritages and belief systems, then this then opens the doorway to the first law of unity and oneness. And we begin to realise that in fact there is no other, and that we are all part of humanity. We're all one and all part of God's source energy. This is a very empowering concept when you're truly able to take it on board, and this is the reason why the acceptance of reincarnation was removed from Christian doctrine several hundred years after Jesus taught it. His mission down here was to re-empower and unite people in non-judgment and unconditional love. But the Emperors Constantine and Justinian, both very much part of the controller group that I talk about in my Extraterrestrial Presence on Earth book, removed this all-important teaching from church doctrine. They did this to disempower people, to divide and conquer, and to force people to feel dependency upon the church and state in order to be saved. In this devious way, the masses could be more easily controlled.
Yeah. So understanding reincarnation is helpful here.
Oh, definitely. It's of paramount importance.
Yeah. I noticed that you didn't include the law of vibration, although you said that they all deal with energy frequencies on the universal level. However, it does appear in the 1111 universal laws as light, sound and vibration. So,
Okay, these 5 laws are more about creating our own reality. That's the laws we've just dealt with, but it all comes back to energy, and energy is vibrational frequency, so these 5 laws are based on this.
okay. So as well as the first 5, you've also given a list of what are known as the 1111 laws, 11 of which are universal and 11 are spiritual, and they are as follows. So the first universal law is free will.
And the first spiritual law is freedom.
The second universal law is change.
The second spiritual law is growth of man.
Third universal law, movement and balance.
Third spiritual law, strength, health and happiness.
Fourth universal law, innocence, truth and family.
Fourth spiritual law, protection of family.
Fifth universal law is symmetry.
And the fifth spiritual law is equality.
Sixth universal law is life.
And the sixth spiritual law is choice.
Seventh universal law is light, sound and vibration.
Seventh spiritual law is intuition.
Eighth universal law is judgment.
And the eighth spiritual law is karma.
Ninth universal law is nature.
And the ninth spiritual law is protection of man.
10th universal law is love.
10th spiritual law is healing.
And the 11th universal law is perception.
And the 11th spiritual law is future sight.
Well, they all seem to speak for themselves and don't need any further explanation, except for maybe the term man in 2 of them, which seems strange terminology to use at this level. Also future sight. So can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yes, these laws have been translated by a human person down here, and because of this, some of the deeper meaning behind them has been lost. The term man should really be translated as humankind, and this doesn't just apply to earth plane humans. These laws are cosmic laws, so therefore pertain to all human-type beings throughout the cosmos. As for future sight, you'll notice when they're laid out as we've laid them out here, with the universal law and then the related spiritual law following, number 11 covers both perception and future sight. This is to do with evolution and expansion of consciousness from 3D up to 5D and beyond. As we evolve up the human ladder, our perception expands from the limited 10% of earth plane humanity right up to the full 100% perception and conscious awareness of a being right up on the 10th level. Once our perception begins to expand to these higher levels, our sight expands past our present limitation of 3D time, which is past, present and future. Thus we're able to tap into future possibilities that really all exist in the now. This is what future sight refers to. A better translation would be expanded sight.
Yeah, I like that, expanded sight. So there are so many laws, so to speak. So why have you highlighted the 1111 spiritual and universal laws? And what is the significance of one set of the 11 being spiritual and the other set of laws being universal?
Okay, as I just explained, they reflect each other. When you place them together in 2 rows, for example, numbers 1 of both free will and freedom are connected because freedom and free will encompass and reflect each other. Numbers 2, change and growth of humankind are related because growth encompasses change and vice versa. As for the number of these laws, the numbers 11 and 22 are powerful master numbers.
That's good. And I noticed that when we were reading out those laws that they did complement each other.
Yeah.
So some of the other laws that are known are the law of giving and receiving, the law of cause and effect, the law of pure potential, the law of intention, attention and desire, the law of polarity, the law of rhythm, the law of action. Do you want to expand on any of these laws or marry them up with any of the 1111 laws?
I haven't actually heard these versions, but as far as I can see, the law of giving and receiving, the law of cause and effect, the law of intention, attraction and desire, and the law of action are all part of the first 5 laws that we've discussed. These 5 all pertain to creating our own best possible reality by cultivating positive thought patterns. As for the other ones, the law of pure potential would, I think, refer to the pure non-polarised energy of source oneness, because that's what source energy is, non-polarised pure potential. The law of polarity would apply to that non-polarised energy being manifested on lower frequencies, where it expresses through polarity and duality, yin and yang. As for the law of rhythm, this would be to do with energy operating in perfect balance. It actually reminds me of a comment made by author Whitley Strieber in his book The Secret School, in which he talks about a secret school that he attended as a child, run by an old female grey dressed in black robes, who reminded him of the Catholic order of nuns known as the Sisters of Mercy. The main lessons they learned were about energy, and dance was also an important part of the curriculum. Graduates of the school were known as dancers. Dance is a term used by the Greys to symbolise both rhythm and balance.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to have gone to that school. So, which law stands out for you the most at this particular time? I know different ones are going to jump out at you at different times, but at this particular time, which one resonates?
Oh, wow, that's hard to say because they all work together in oneness. If I had to name one, I'd say the 4th law of manifestation, because I can see that one really manifesting so clearly down here on Earth right now. This is a subject I've covered in detail in one of the 2 ebooks that my publisher is in the process of putting up on Amazon. The first one is a commentary on Lawrence Spencer's book, Alien Interview, and the second one is on the subject of cosmic spirituality. My original plan was to have it all in one book, but there's so much information included, and some of it's fairly deep, so my publisher suggested putting it into 2 books. Oris and Maris gave us a symbol many years ago to illustrate the first 5 universal laws that we've talked about today. This symbol is the 5D, so carries an awful lot of information, which I've included in the Cosmic Spirituality book.
Good.
So, Paula, which of the laws stands out for you?
Well, for me, it's the law of future sight, because the energy behind it reassures me that we are here for each other. We are all in this together. Regardless of how it appears, we truly are united. There's just so much going on, like down here on the planet with this shift occurring, and so many changes are happening right now. Future sight to me, and you've explained it as expanded sight, which I like better, I think, than future sight. It means to clearly see and interpret what's going on, and then ultimately shift and design our future together, to see through to our essence, to who we truly are.
Yes, I love that. In other words, it's also about our shift from 3D up to 5D, which will enhance our ability to see the bigger picture and our view of the greater reality.
Just going over the spiritual and universal laws and talking about them ever so briefly really opens your heart. These laws are but words, and they are, among so many other things, an invitation to unite in love.
Oh my goodness, yes. And the more we can come to an understanding of this, the more empowered we become.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the bottom line. So just to finish our session for today, I'd just like to remind everybody that Judy's books are available through Amazon and Kindle, or you can go directly through Judy's website, which is included in the link below. And if you enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends and family and subscribe to this channel. We look forward to meeting up in our next Q&A session. Bye for now.